Well, I mean, we know it worked, so no real reason to be coy about it after we've seen him alive. I mean, unless they were going to do oh shit, he's dead, make a robot version of him. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Stoneface Reactions. I'm Theta, and we're back with another episode of Space Battleship Yamato. We come back as we normally do with notes, comments, and a board. So let's get that board first thing. Where the board changelog, I have added Mill and Rakome, and then I marked Gorland as dead. That's it. Going into notes. Gorland's bored. Better go prove the Comet Empire is full of bad guys by having him go on safari and prove that he's a crack shot, a skill that will never come into play for his entire lifespan on screen, except for exactly right now. I would then say he wastes resources destroying a planet for absolutely no reason, but we never cover that resources mean anything in this show. In fact, resources here have all the same consequences as they do in Star Trek Voyager. I guess the only takeaway is that the Comet Empire could easily destroy a planet if they wanted, which would be the new threat. They are really forgiving of Shima for no reason. Beating on the equipment, preventing Ihara from doing his job, talking over the transmission that could be important enough to save everyone, not to mention, just after it's announced that they are flying towards a ton of stuff in the way, which it'd be his job to plot out, but also pilot them out, because he's the helmsman too, I guess. Nah, he's just like any other man, it's fine. Discipline on this ship is slacking hard. Again, what's with the comic relief rookie? He's introduced to us out of the blue. How does the Yamato even have a rookie? These are all the people from their first journey. How can you possibly go on an entire year journey no one's ever been on before, save the Earth, spend another year doing who knows what, defy the Earth government, and hijack the Yamato, and not only still be a rookie, but also this timid? We can't let the public know about an alien invasion. Why? It's been a year. This isn't these people's first rodeo. Open up the underground bunkers. Let everyone know to start drilling again. By drilling, I mean, obviously, practicing running to the bunkers, not drilling new bunkers. Do what you gotta do. This isn't Jaws. We don't need to gaslight them until it's too late. The debris is draining our power. What do we do? Coat the hull in it, obviously. I get that we are doing the asteroid armor thing that we did in the first season, but this time it's dumb. Why didn't the control beacons get drained of power? How would you know the ship wouldn't lose control of the asteroids for losing too much power? But don't worry. Sonata planned for this ahead of time, despite never encountering this phenomenon before. It just feels really dumb, and combined with a whiny bride tossing around her father's name to cause a panic because she isn't getting her way, makes this episode one of the worst so far. And my final note, Kodai, you can't change your mind once you give an order, especially if someone gives you new information that makes your order a bad one. Is that the message we're supposed to take away from that? Always barrel on ahead no matter how stupid you are being? I mean, it's put to us in such a way as to teach us a lesson. He doesn't just say, I got us more power, we can fire now, like a normal person might. Those were the notes. As I said, we had a comment, so let's go ahead and hop into that, which is from Kellen Winslow. Still appreciate your boards data. They definitely help at times. Yes, a year or even 5 years is enough for Earth to rebuild much of anything. Maybe if they had technical help from other races, it could be done, but by themselves, no. But we've talked about that before, so at this point, we just have to accept it for now. I do agree with you, though, that you should be much harsher on the remakes. I think you'll be pleased with the changes, but we'll see. Yes, Gunbuster 2 is great. I really like it. Pity it has no Blu-ray release. And Gurren Lagann is fantastic. I just meant that the Gundam thing Anno did wasn't up to those standards, and the character designs and overall tone of the show later instantly reminded me of those other, better works. No shade on anyone who liked the Gundam show. That's cool. It just didn't land for me. It's true Gundam is a lot of things. I can't disagree with you. I guess it didn't feel like Universal Century Gundam, which is my favorite Gundam aside from 00, which is my favorite spin-off. If it had no connection to the Universal Century stuff at all, I probably wouldn't mind as much. So that's just me. Yeah, I'm aware that Gainax had a bad history on the financial side of the company. They had issues going all the way back to Gunbuster. But not all of them were responsible for the tax issues they had thanks to Evangelion. That was mostly a decision that they had left in Suwara's hands, and he screwed up. He was vulnerable to temptation because he didn't know how long Evangelion would make money for them. It comes down to the fact that no one in Gainax was up to the task of dealing with revenues on that scale. I would recommend the book, the Notenki Memoirs by one of the founders, Yashiro Takeda. It gives you a very candid look into Gainax from the early 80s up to the early aughts. I mean, there's a really good Anno interview. I'm sorry, this is me now. I'm interjecting. There's a really good Anno interview. I don't know if it's posted on their new site. So I can't never remember Anno's company whenever I need to think about it. It starts with a K or whatever. That he does about how fucked up it was working for Gainax and how fucked up of a company Gainax itself is. Because, it's all literally based around the money that Evangelion made them. But you were right, they always had problems, probably because they were just fans and not good business people. What's gone on between all of them in the last 20 years, I'm not an expert on, so I won't speak about that, though. That's why I was just also referring to the Anno's words about it. The quality of their work from 84 to 2006, though, stands on its own despite of their problems, or in spite of their problems, and that wasn't all Anno. He had the other founders to keep him in check and bounce ideas off of. For me, it's kind of like how Lucas had Gary Kurtz keeping him in check for the original Star Wars films. And once that was gone, he was just not as good. A perfect example is their first work, The Royal Space Force, still one of the best things they ever made and one of the best anime films ever made. All of them were working together, firing on all cylinders at the top of their game, so when I said it's a shame they are gone, I meant it's a shame creatively, not necessarily business-wise. Saito isn't exactly a moron, fine. I probably should have called him a meathead instead. You were right, it's like the character from The Expanse. I don't know. Sorry, you jumping from the real world back into the character stuff, you said meathead, and I was thinking that that character from All in the Family. Sorry, took me a minute to think of Archie Bunker, what show Archie Bunker was on. All in the Family. This episode was better than the last two. As much as I don't like that they brought Desler back to life, he is still a good antagonist and is enjoyable to watch. Well, yeah, I mean, I've got to hope he comes back for one specific reason. I appreciate the Earth scenes. They help to flesh out the show and give it a bit more depth. Well, not last episode. Last episode was fucking worst. They wouldn't know how powerful the comet actually is, and maybe one Andromeda could handle it. One Andromeda, the ship type, or the name of the ship, not one Andromeda, the galaxy, which is where my mind went. At least from their perspective, but I appreciate that the commander wanted 5 more made. Better safe than sorry, after all. If the Zentradi from across show us anything, it's that more ships is always better, lol. Is it? Literally, the Zentradi had millions of ships, and they fucking lost, so... the asteroid shield makes another appearance here. It's a decent idea, at least. It reminds me of the pinpoint barrier system they used in early Macross. At least it's some kind of defense. Some of the explanations of why things aren't great, as your reactions pointed out. But I do like the fact that Sonata has a bigger role as science officer here. He's a good character that deserves some screen time. Obviously, you and me had different takeaways. I am just bitching and bemoaning the episode. And you're saying the things that you liked the things I did not like. Again, I did not like the Bridezilla who's causing a run on the spaceport and giving away state secrets, as it turns out. I did not like the energy-draining asteroids that we're just going to coat the ship with. It made sense to make an asteroid armor ring thing back when they were just inert rocks. Now they're literally harming the ship, and we're using them. But yeah, no, Sonata always needs a better role. Like, obviously, his backstory episode on the Magnet Fortress was a great one. More of that. I do appreciate your thoughts and calling me out when I've made a mistake or something, and I won't point out what Yamato things there are to watch. You already have that under control. LOL. Thanks again for your time. I always feel like you're signing off on like a business letter or a TED Talk. Once again, thank you for your time. Anyway, I don't know. I'm just giving you my opinion. I'm not even calling you out as wrong. I'm not like we've all taken a vote and we all agree that this show is better than that show. I'm just giving my opinions. I'm as wrong as anybody else, as Lessons would say. Anyway, those were the notes, that was the board, that was the comment, so nothing left to do but hop on in and see what this episode has for us.
But before we get started,
make sure that you hit the like button,
hit that subscribe button,
comment down below to feed that algorithm.
On top of all that, if you want to watch more shows like this, unfiltered,
uncensored,
and uncut,
as well as some early access stuff,
you can check it out over on the Patreon.
It's just $5 a month, but hey, no pressure.
There's zero pressure in order to do that. It's just a little bit of extra support, and it would be greatly appreciated.
You know, for half a second there, I was like, what is wrong with my audio? And then I remembered I've done 2 or 3 other recordings today, where every time at the very end, I turn my volume off for the ending credits. And I hadn't turned it back on yet. I'm very stupid. I am very stupid quite often. I can't tell you how often I just do my solo recordings, and then the next time I go in to record with Lessons, the opening will start, and I'll be like, oh, well, I can't listen to the opening. I better just turn that off while I'm talking about the show. And like, oh shit, something's wrong with Lessons audio. I can't hear him. Because all the audio comes from the same knob. As I said, I'm a fucking idiot. Also, you might be able to tell, over time, I'm having less and less things to talk about here in the opening of the show, but I'm not going to cut it out for people who, like, on YouTube side, start their thing the same time I start mine, so we watch it at the same time. I keep it a consistent pace. I'm hoping Desler does not just get fucking murked this episode. Also super interesting, everywhere I looked up the episode title for this episode, it's Desler. So I guess in, shit, I can't remember what the Space Battleship Yamato was called in the US, because I'm just watching Space Battleship Yamato. Star Blazers or whatever. He's called Desler. Damn straight he is. Because apparently, being in an explosion, having a building dropped on you, having a ceiling fall on you, and fuck if I can even remember what happened after he crashed his ship into their ship. But you know, Desler, the sole benefactor of this series of retcon. No. The building didn't fall from the ceiling and then we watched it literally crash into the ground and explode. The building was actually a spaceship attached to the ceiling. And then when everybody turned their backs, the spaceship that was falling from the ceiling turned its engines on and it flew away. And nobody knew. And despite the fact it being Desler's flagship, and it had a wave cannon of its own on the front, it didn't turn and fire it at him. It didn't turn and fire it at Iskander. It didn't blow up its own planet with the Yamato in the middle of it. It just flew away. It just disappeared. For a second there, I thought we were going to recap the entire show, but we're already at the Battle of Gamlis. I just saw him get hit by rocks. And then the falling in building.
しかし地球を間近にして死の底から蘇ったデスラー総統の反撃を受けた。
Yeah, as I said.
だがヤマトは勝った。差し物デスラー総統も船もろとも宇宙の塵と化したはずであった。
So now we've seen him get hit by rocks, and on fire, and a building fall on him. Again, there's plot armor, and then there's just straight up retcon.
だいぶ遅いな。船の補修をしていると思われます。ただ、ヤマトには新しい乗組員がだいぶいるようだが、そろそろ旅に着く。
When? Why? No. As for all of my argument against a rookie being on board, no. The Fiend of Revenge. Must be New Year because someone let all the lanterns out. Again, the after credits thing, I think, was saying the joke about his name is actually kind of like said the same as Rookie. So I guess he's gonna be the one that fucks it up for everyone.
テレサから入電しました。よし、ちょっと待って。こちら島です。
Yeah, sorry, Ahara, you're never talking to my woman. That's what we've all decided.
ああ、今日は聞きやすいな。テレサ、言いたいことを存分に伝えてください。航路の指定をします。テレザート星はそこから18万8000宇宙キロ、2時の方向。 上下角プラスマイナス2度航路障害物小惑星1。 いや、どうもありがとう。
What do you mean, might?
私はテレザートのテレサ。テレザートのテレサ。あ、ちょっとテレサ、待ってください。テレサ。
Is this a recording? Is she a robot? She might be a robot.
意外にせっかちだな、彼女は。
It's the element keeps repeating who she is. Why does she keep signing off with "This is Teresa of Terrasat"? Sometimes multiple times. No wonder Analyzer keeps getting away with shit. He's like buying everyone's love. The time radar. Remember that? So how do you think we're going to use the space fireflies? So the fireflies are going to be a Desler trap? No worries, one guy did it, and then I did it for the rest of the crew.
って優しいのね。
技師長、宇宙ボタルは放射性の塵じゃなかったのかね。
そうですね。一応危険度を調べておくか。
Sometimes I keep forgetting that he's not the engineering chief. I think they're getting science chief and engineering chief mixed up.
真田さん、どうですか？まあ、見てくれ。
Yeah, cool. They stopped moving altogether. Also, what do you mean it's bacteria? Is it macro bacteria?
みんな、せっかくだけど捨ててくれよ。艦長代理の命令なんだ。
構うが、放っておけ。
みんな、何をしている？早く捨てろ。許可のないものを持ち込むんじゃない。早く捨てろ。
Again, literally no authority as captain on the ship, apparently.
アナライザーいいかだな。
なんだって？
みんな初めての旅でビビってたの。こいつが慰めてくれたんだ。
斉藤、それはバクテリアなんだ。調査で安全が確認されるまで艦内持ち込みを禁ずる命令だ。
嫌だって言ったらどうする、古代。
Brig, forever. Airlock. Airlock. Let's go with airlock.
お、聞いちまったぜ。
見ろ、せっかくの楽しみがパーじゃねえかよ。
お前には船の旅がどういうものかわからないんだ。余計な口出しをするな。
そうはいかねえな。おい、艦長代理よ。一体いつになったらテレザーツエ
The fuck do you care?
イライラしてんだぞ。
そんなことお前に言われなくても分かっているよ。
なんだと？
あんたと二人ともやめてくれよ。
どけ！
あた。
この野郎。
貴様。
I mean, obviously, I'm rooting for Kaido on this one. The doctor gonna put a stop to this fight too? We were at the gravity went out. Yeah, why did the gravity go out? Have anything to do with the bacteria? Lord Desler, your anti-gravity bacteria has worked perfectly.
ヤマトに最後の戦いを挑んだ。しかし、自ら放った波動砲をヤマトに跳ね返され、船と共に壮烈な最後を遂げたのであった。
Again, makes him one of the more interesting characters, even if right there at the end. Again, that might as well just be the scene from the movie. By the way, I apologize if this comes across as like I'm a bit more monotonous or dumb than I usually am. This is one of my 4 a.m. recordings.
どうだ、助かりそうか。
何をおっしゃいます大抵。我が水星帝国の医学技術をもってすれば、たとえ死者でも蘇らせることができます。
Yeah, like Mass Effect 2, why not?
このような男をどうしてお助けになるのか、私には大抵の御心がわかりません。
どうだ、具合は。
まだ生きるか死ぬか五分五分です。我々の医学技術は別として、あとはこの男自身の意志です。
そうだ。
Well, I mean, we know it worked, so no real reason to be coy about it after we've seen him alive. I mean, unless they were gonna do a, oh shit, he's dead, make a robot version of him.
この男は執念の塊だ。
So in my mind, still just going back to the Space Fireflies. What's the trick there?
あなたの活躍はかねてから知っていた。あのまま死なせるのは惜しいと思ってな。蘇生の手助けをしたまでだ。
感謝いたします。ガミラスの科学力をもってしても成し得なかった蘇生技術。水星帝国の高度な科学力には敬服いたします。
I don't know if I said that before about this show or a different show about. I think it must have been this one, that Gamla should be so much more advanced than Earth, and it's not. It's just at Earth's advancement level. Despite being so many magnitudes of age older.
Desler 総統、ヤマトはシークレット空間 X を通過しました。シークレット空間
How'd they know about that?
シークレットだよ、ミル。余計なことに神経を使わずにゆっくり休んでいたらどうだ。しかし。タラン、そろそろ戦艦空母を送ってヤマトを歓迎してやれ。
Legitimately, in a fleet run by Desler, the only ship that matters in the end is Desler's ship. Did the Space Fireflies fucking take out the gravity?
おい、コントロール室、どうしたんだ？重力コントロール装置だ。何してる？古代、あれは鉄を食うバクテリアだ。何？おい、まさか第二環境へ宇宙ゴミを持ち込んだんじゃないだろうな。そうか。
Metal eating bacteria? That was the major threat?
ヤマト捕捉、前方3000宇宙キロ、速度25宇宙ノット。
急降下爆撃機発進。
Well, this feels a whole hell of a lot like, I guess what, the penultimate battle at Gamulus? We had the 3 different carriers launching against the Yamato. I gotta think that was the best and the brightest, though. What the hell is this? Oh, that's right, we've got robot workers, I forgot. Could not make them less like starfighters and more like jets. I do feel slightly let down. This is supposed to be like the return of Desler video. I was gonna get excited for that. We're about 18 minutes in, and the most encounter we've gotten is with, like, a fighter squadron of Deslers. I mean, why hasn't Yamato? That would say. No, you pull in the cords. Pull in the cords and just have them slowly glide their way out of the hangar, and then in which case they go full speed.
完全にバクテリアにやられています。どけどけ。あとは俺がやる。手法発射用意。
Part of the plan is going to be, let's erode our own hull. Again, you seriously could have gotten some Cosmo Tigers out by now. So I would say, what, like 5th, 6th worst we've ever seen the Yamato get its ass kicked? And it's to the fighter craft of Desler? I doubt it. I don't think so. And you know, since they're all robot controlled, you take out the craft, the carrier, the fighter craft will stop working. Maybe just block the transmission. That seems to work for everything else.
死んだんじゃなかったのか。
死んだ。確かに死んだ。しかし貴様たちへの復讐の執念で蘇ったの。
I guess, technically, in this timeline, he was floating through space, presumably dead.
古代住む、褒めてやろう。よくここまで来た。
我々には起きた艦長の意志が生き続けているんだ。
Except for those moments where that guy in the downstairs challenges me and I get into a fist fight with him.
それにしてもだいぶお楽しみのようだね。諸君の長旅をお慰めしようと思い、心ばかりの贈り物をした。早速受け取ってもらえたようで恐縮している。せいぜいお楽しみいただきたい。
He does get under the skin. That's something.
どうした？第二環境。 重力のかけすぎだ。そんなこと言ったって僕はまだ何も。
Again, I just don't buy the rookie thing. He legit couldn't just have shown up. Oh, I'll say that's a pretty weird shot. I think we're supposed to be looking at it top-down, sideways, but it kind of looks like the ship is flying this way. I know, horrible way to try and imitate an image with your hand. Why would that ever be enough? Unless Desler told you specifically as much damage as possible without destroying it.
Yamato.
Could just be a carrier, right? Also had to be a battleship. I don't know, pretty shitty thing to say. Yamato, fight back! As though it hasn't been trying the entire time. I mean, obviously not. I guess the idea is when it goes into the wave motion engine, when that activates, is it passing through space or is it passing through that other dimension that we saw before? Because the element is, if it was in a hollow asteroid and it jumped, does it ram into the far wall of the asteroid? Or does it jump into secondary space and then continue moving at its speed in that other space? Okay, I thought this would be where the notes would be, if there was going to be any. Okay, not there. Because if you could pull that off, it would just be like you vanish from the asteroid. Because, you go in trying to evade them, and they're like, oh, fuck that, we're just going to destroy the entire fucking asteroid. And they do, and you're not there. Maybe they atomized you, or maybe you jumped somewhere. This was better than last episode, but not by much. I feel like the quality level of Season 2 is way worse than Season 1. It's not the worst of the show, it is just worse. Yeah, I just don't really have much to say here. It was legitimately, hey, let's gather a bunch of space fireflies. We brought them all on the ship against the captain's wishes. They fight the captain on it. And then at the end of the day, what do? They're eating the hull, but we've seen no evidence of that yet other than the character saying it. And the gravity is out, and that's it. Hardly the threat I expected from, oh, this was just the end of the prologue. The real fight begins now. I mean, I don't know. It's a poor showing from my guy, but then again, at the end of the day, Season 1 kind of proved that he wasn't the threat that he wants you to believe him to be. So, disappointment all around. Now, I know that I haven't really had that much to say here, but the last couple episodes have been disappointing for me. At least early on, when it felt like we were still going through the motions of the movie, we had a little interesting back and forth. I feel like we got some character information there. Really, it's when those the Rough Riders showed up on the ship, and they started picking fights and whatnot. That's where I feel like everything has gone downhill. Anyway, I think that's where we're going to wrap up here. Like I said, I don't have much thoughts about this one offhand. I might have more to say. Obviously, I'll have notes next time. I'll have more to say then. But for right now, this is going to be it. So, once again, I have been Theta. This has been Stoneface Reactions, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stoneface Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what you thought about this video, what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?